Cool. Well, thanks very much for speaking to us at the Sound Architect. We're very excited to be talking to you today.
My
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure to
My
have
pleasure.
you.
We've been meaning to do this for a while.
Yeah, it's been it's been ongoing, kind of getting this organised. So it's been quite fun, and a nice little experiment on Google Plus. So be cool.
Definitely.
So okay, we'll start from the beginning. So tell us how you got into acting first, before we go into the voice acting side. How did you begin your acting career?
Well, I did my first play when I was like 7 years old. It was a Cinderella story mishmash, kind of like if Baz Luhrmann directed Cinderella in Reno, Nevada, with like a 20-seat theater. Like if he ever felt so inclined to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but no, that was my very first play, and then I started doing local stuff in around Reno, Northern Nevada, California, and local commercials. Did juggling and magic and stuff, and I always did entertainment
Oh,
items. Being in front of an audience, performing, and just loving it. And so I eventually just had it in my head that I should continue to do this. I should do this as an adult. As I get older, I should try this as a career because I just loved it so much, telling story and acting. So I put a knapsack on the end of a stick like they do in cartoons, and I walked to Hollywood. I came to Hollywood and started to do stuff. I jumped in, and a mix of both acting, on-camera acting, movies, TV stuff, and voiceover really kind of welcomed me, and it was awesome. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you a funny story. The very first voiceover job that I ever had, because voiceover's become a huge part of my life. Very first voiceover job I ever had was I booked a local commercial in Reno as an on-camera actor. Right, I was a kid. I was probably like, I want to say maybe 10 years old.
all right.
And there were these two commercials. It was two commercials for a campaign for the local planetarium. They're doing a science fair, and I was in one spot, and they had this other kid for this other spot. I did my spot. They did his spot. And then I get a call from them about a week later. They said, could you come in and do some ADR work? I had no idea what ADR work is.
Yeah.
It's when you like dub over someone else's
Yeah.
lines or your own lines. Sometimes if you recorded audio bad, it's kind of something you do in post. And so we got people joining in now. Awesome.
Hey, yeah. We have a.
And now he's gone. And so I was asked to dub over the other kid's lines, right? Because they didn't like his voice. They liked my voice. They didn't like his voice. And so my very first experience was like, I'm 10 years old. I'm in this booth with the padded walls and this big microphone, and the adults are on the other side of the glass. These giant headphones on my head, like the ones you got on there.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
just thought it was so cool as a kid. It's like, this is amazing. And so there were these two commercials that were running on TV, two different kids, but they seemed to have the same voice coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever did voiceover. And
So it's quite early on then.
It's what?
It was quite early on in your career that you got into voice acting, technically.
Technically, yeah, that was my very first gig. And then a lot of time goes by, and I didn't really have any idea what it was. When I started doing acting in Hollywood, I sort of looked around for other jobs to do, and I remembered this voiceover thing that I did. And I had no idea. I was, probably in my like late teens, early 20s, thinking about it, and I had no idea. I really didn't. I had no idea. Is that something that adults do? I was 10 years old. I was 10 years old, and it was pretty groovy. But like, do adults do this, and do they make money? Can you actually do a career out of this? And so I cut a first demo and sent it out, and things went very well. And that was a while ago.
So what was your first game? Was it Spider-Man 3? Was it your first game, or did you do one before that?
No, I think my very first video game was the critically acclaimed, huge blockbuster success, Pimp My Ride, MTV's
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pimp My Ride, the video game. Was my very first, where I played some cracked out addict of some kind. He was always talking like this. He's always talking like Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys,
Oh, right, yeah.
Pimp out my car, man, But
Nice.
I think that was my very, very first video game.
So how did you land the Resident Evil role? Obviously, we're going to talk about Piers. So how did you land the Piers Nivans gig?
Piers. So I was aware of Resident Evil as a series, as a gamer, and the movies, and so when they sent out the auditions, and Matthew Mercer actually, who plays Leon Kennedy,
Leon, yeah.
he said that he clued into the fact that we were auditioning for Resident Evil when they were first sending stuff out, because it was all really, really secret.
Yeah.
And they changed the names and the characters and the sides. Everything was really, really confidential. And at that time, I think I can say this now. I fear Capcom is so Capcom was like treated as like so top secret that it's actually feels weird even now to talk about it. You know,
you're still afraid. Still got the fear.
Still the fear, right? The sniper. But the code name was Roku. I could probably say that. The code name is Roku.
Okay.
And which now that I'm learning Japanese, I realize is 6 in Japanese. Loku. Loku is 6. And so I didn't clue into this. So because I thought it was the Roku streaming box. You know, the
right, yeah, the little TV box.
Yeah, but that didn't make any sense when you read the sides, like a soldier dying and stuff. So, but so it was all super top secret. They sent out sides, and I have a home studio here, and I just recorded it on my own, the sample to send into Capcom. And about a couple weeks later, I get a phone call from my agency to meet down at a studio down in Marina del Rey, and just down the coast here. And I had to sign away a whole bunch of paperwork. I had to sign away that I'd never talk about anything that I know. And as soon as I was done signing the paperwork, I was told what the project was. Said, all right, so listen, this is what this is. This is Resident Evil 6, and this is who you are. And I was introduced to Piers Nivans, this new lead character that was going to be introduced to the series. And even at the audition, the voiceover, because voiceover is usually nobody sees you. It's just you behind a microphone, right? But even at this audition, they were being very, very aware of the actor's performance, his visual performance behind the microphone.
For the mocap,
with this technology now, that matters. Because the facial motion capture performance is going to be in the video game, and so it was really cool. It was a different world to be in for me.
Yeah, it must be.
Game stuff, but this was different. You know, this was big, and this was an established series, and the motion capture element to it, or the facial performance. I'd done body work before, motion capture body work, but it was very cool. And so that was how I was introduced to Piers, and I laid down my performance, and apparently Liam O'Brien is the voice director. He was the person directing the session, liked the way my face moved, and that was that. And I got a phone call a little bit later saying that you're going to play Piers Nivans in Resident Evil 6.
Amazing. Was it quite daunting? Because obviously there've been quite a few lead roles throughout Resident Evil that have stuck. Introducing a new character, how did that feel for you? Kind of going, all right, I'm coming into this really well-established franchise as a new guy.
It was really cool as a new guy, because there are some legacy characters from the series that have been played by different actors, right? So from Peter Jessup playing Albert Wesker, I think in 4, and then D.C. Douglas playing him in 5. There's an established essence. There's an established essence to Albert Wesker that those actors. I mean, I know Peter Jessup extremely well. I know D.C. Douglas a little bit, but both their performances are incredible, but they're kind of unique in their own way because they put their stamp on it. But it's still around a certain vibe that was established. I can't remember if Peter Jessup did the first time, but anyway, a legacy character gets established and then gets performed. It was kind of cool. It was kind of nice to know that with these legacy characters in franchise games, to be able to kind of start fresh and create whatever I wanted. However I felt Piers responded, Piers acted. And I could, if he was going to become a legacy character, then I would get to establish that performance as original work, and so it was really cool. It was a clean slate, and it was exciting.
So Did you have quite a lot of input then on? You say that you had an input on how he felt and how he was doing things. Obviously, you got the kind of voice acting director there, the dialogue editor or whatever. But did you have a lot of input on how he would react then? Would you just kind of react how you thought he would react, and they went, yeah, that's it, yeah? Or did they kind of go, he needs to do this or he needs to do that all the time? Or did you have quite a lot of creative input?
It was a mix, you know. It was a collaboration. It was a true collaboration. Whenever I bring up this side of it, and I've already mentioned him. Liam O'Brien was our voice director, and he himself prolific in video games and animation, amazing guy, amazing talent, and a super amazing director that welcomes collaboration, ideas, input. It's not do it this way, do it this way.
Yeah.
Or the higher up said do it this way. It was always this what do you feel? What does the character say to you? What type of soldier is he? And what is important, and how would he interact with, and how would he be different from this world? Because it was important for Piers to be different. It was important. That was a big focus. It was important for Piers Nivans in the world of Resident Evil 6 to be different from Chris Redfield and the rest of the soldiers, right? Yeah. Where he's not just another soldier. He's not just another first lieutenant. He's not just another Chris Redfield. He can't be. He can't be another Chris Redfield. He has to be something else in order to get Chris Redfield to become something else too, right? Because Chris needs his Sam Gamgee. And he needs his conscience. He needs his Jiminy Cricket.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because Piers is obviously the conscience of Chris throughout the game, and kind of is constantly kicking him to kind of go, look, this is what you need to focus on. This is what you need to do. Stop messing around.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we had a lot of talks about that. We had a lot of talks about exactly how to do that, and what the personality would be like, and ultimately how it would best serve Roger Craig Smith's performance as Chris Redfield to justify the storyline that we embark on, and being Chris Redfield's conscience, and ultimately that earning that ending, that big payoff. So.
Yeah. So I mean, did you build up quite a nice relationship with Roger then through working through a lot of those kind of moments? Obviously, kind of having to kind of get really emotionally involved. Yeah, you kind of talked to Roger quite a lot outside of the booth.
I think Roger Craig Smith is amazing and absolutely brilliant. I've met him a total of, I think, twice, and actually, like, in person. I always see him. We're big time on Twitter, and I see him popping up all the time with our tweets that we go back and forth. But I've actually met him twice. If unless I'm totally mistaken, we've never ever talked about the game at all.
All right.
And once was bumped into each other at an audition, and the other time was coming out of the booth. I had got done with my session. I just got done with my session, and he was going in for his to record some Chris stuff, and we just kind of passed, going like, "Oh, hey. You're playing Chris." Like, "Oh, you're playing Piers." "Oh, cool, awesome. We're gonna be in this game together." Because that's the nature of it. That's the nature of the way things are recorded. It's so separate, and so it's kind of like you end up seeing the game later, or like the cutscenes on YouTube, and these people who you do know. Like I know Courtney Taylor plays Ada Wong a little better, and I probably hung out with Matthew Mercer more than both of them, and. But even then, not a lot. It's just kind of it's something where you go, you see the performances after the fact, you go, "Oh, that's what you were doing. That's oh, cool. You're brilliant." And so it's interesting. It's interesting to be in this world with all these people, or to be a first lieutenant to Chris Redfield, but never actually meet Roger Craig Smith.
Yeah. I mean, I find that quite interesting, because I think they're getting people more and more involved in games these days, because obviously a lot of the mocap data, they're doing a lot of live dialogue recording now. So, I mean, was it strange recording reactions to just a voice that was in your ears, as opposed to kind of like meeting the person or kind of bouncing off of someone at the real time? I mean, did you have a video there of what they'd recorded, and you just kind of recorded the reactions to that, or?
It was a number of things. I would see actual live action cutscenes that they recorded as kind of like a reference, as a video reference, where they would actually film it. I mean, even without motion capture stuff involved, like where it's blocked out and almost shot like a movie, the exact camera angles that they'd ultimately want. And I'd see some of that reference material. I would see some of the material that they did as the body capture, acting out the stuff with the lines and everything, doing the body capture, totally in it, totally doing the action, and kind of matching my, because I'm tracked from the neck up in the booth, and they'd already do the body cap, and so if you have you have the actor in the volume turning their body like this, I can't do that in the booth while I'm recording. But what I kind of need to do is I kind of need to create the motion with my head and my face that I did turn, so that this action with my head matches the body movement later. And so I'd see a lot of that material. I'd hear a lot of the performances. Like I got to hear, that's why I love his performance and why I love him as a talent, is I got to hear a lot of Roger Craig Smith in my head. You know, and hearing his performance, playing off his performances as Chris Redfield. And yeah, so it's a bunch of different ways. It's a bunch of different pieces of information that you're absorbing while you're creating this performance. But most of the time you are reading to something. You know, it's just kind of, you do wild lines, like some of the shout outs and everything. Like I don't need to be reading the picture to be like, Captain, you know. But all the cutscene stuff, you're reading to something, either someone else's performance or a scratch track or some sort of visual or some of the body capture video that they took on a sound stage somewhere.
All right, cool. So did you play the games beforehand? Have you played the Resident Evils 1 to 5 before you played 6, or did you end up playing them because of getting the role, or you know, because you say you're quite a gamer anyway? So.
Yeah, I played 1 back in the day, and I played a little bit of 2, and then I didn't play for a long time. Then I booked this, and I went back, and I played all of 5 immediately. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of how I tackled it. So I still have yet to see. I guess 4 is really badass. That I need to visit 4.
It's one of the best ones, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what everybody says. You haven't played 4?
Well, the voice acting's come a long way since 1 and 2, so you must have been a bit seeing the transition to 5.
No.
Cool.
I'm kind of thinking. I'm looking at our stuff here, and I'm kind of thinking about, because I see that it cut off our title here of what we're talking about.
All right.
And I think it'd be better to broadcast the topic of what we're doing here to see if we can drum up some people that want to come in for questions.
Yeah, sure.
So I think, and I don't think I can change unless I end broadcast. We're looking at 5 viewers. Hello, 5 viewers that are out there.
Hi guys, welcome.
We've had 5 viewers pretty constantly, so all of you all rock, and you're probably watching us on the YouTube channel since you're not here asking questions. But thank you. You can tell me later on my Twitter or something who you all were, so I can thank you.
Yeah, feel free to comment on the Facebook or Twitter pages.
Get
in touch.
But maybe let's see, just for the hell of it, as an experiment. I think the only way I can change the title of it to say, you know, the topics we're hitting is if I actually end the broadcast and restart the broadcast.
Okay, so have another broadcast.
Yes. So we'll end this, and it can be in pieces. And for you 5 that want to continue in on the fun, if you want to pop over to my Google Plus page, then you can ask questions. But otherwise, we're going to end the broadcast, rebroadcast, find us, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back in part 2.
Yeah.